I will always choose to work with children. It's unconditional. There's no drama, there's no politics.
Whatever it is there.
Yeah, whatever you get, it's there.
Does boarding school impact the relationship between parent and child?
It shouldn't. The way of families need to look at it is that they should make sure that they're so well grounded, but they need to be allowed to grow out and branch out.
The only
It'll
question
be
is,
fine.
what age? Crux, like you were saying, is the child has a safe and secure place. If for some reason you're unable to find it in your home, then sending to boarding school even earlier is a great idea. A parent has asked that, will a child have negative feelings towards me if I send my child to boarding school?
No.
Every child is different. We have to acknowledge that. And so you have to know and talk to your child when they're ready to go.
I think that's a fair point. A child should not feel I am being sent away to boarding school.
Exactly.
And I love the word you use, which is care.
Yeah.
Care leads to trust.
Yeah.
And that leads to everything else.
Absolutely. So in schools, trust is very, very important.
That teaches better than Indian teachers?
Your passport does not determine if you're an effective teacher or not, right? And let's blow that notion out of the water. The reality is the Indian teaching pool across the world is so vast and rich.
Now, today we're talking to two people who are leaders at an interesting school. And I say interesting because the school they represent is 450 years old. It is a school which has survived the Great Plague and 2 world wars. And survival is not enough. I was checking statistics, and in 2024, 55% of the graduating class went to the top 5 universities of the world. And that I think is fabulous. The school is Queen Elizabeth School from London, which is now opening a campus in Gurugram. The interesting thing I find about that campus, like I was telling you, is that it is spread in 17 acres, which is a lot of space to have in Gurugram. And I think it is one of the few boarding schools. Like when you think of a boarding school, you think, oh, my child will go away to the hills and they'll be far away. 5-day boardings are also not much of an option because going and coming back takes a lot of time. But this is a boarding school in Gurugram, in a city, next to an international airport, which I think is fabulous. Today we'll be chatting with Dr. Craig Cook, who's the founding principal at Queen Elizabeth School. Welcome.
Thank you.
And Sonal Chatrath, who's the head of prep school. Good to have you here.
Thank you.
Very happy to chat with you. Both of them bring together a lot of experience in education. How long have you been in education for?
30 plus years.
30 plus years?
In international education, right? Yeah.
And what about you?
Yeah, 30 plus years as well.
30 plus years?
Yeah, so combined, we could be a very old age.
So 60 years sitting right across me. Dr. Cook was earlier the principal at Woodstock, which is Asia's oldest boarding school, and has been, like you said, an international education for 30 plus years. Welcome again.
Thank you.
And you were recently the head of prep school at John Lyon in UK. Is that the right pronunciation?
Right. Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes.
So, and Sonal, you were until recently the head of prep school at John Lyon in UK.
That's correct.
So yesterday we put out an Instagram story and we sent a link to a couple of thousand parents saying, we're going to be chatting with Queen Elizabeth School and if they have any questions. Some of those questions I've covered, but I wanted to pick a couple of 2-3 more questions.
Good thing.
And interestingly, those questions were, about the parent and the emotion and this entire experience of boarding.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so one question is that, does boarding school impact the relationship between parent and child?
It shouldn't. If your values and principles that the children bring with them, that have been instilled with them, the foundations of children are laid very early on as youngsters. When they're born, those first 2-3 years are critical years in character forming, in, embedding what your values as a family are, what your principles as a family are. And children, that old saying, children learn what they live. It's so true. So if you've always lived with them and those pillars are strong, that the children can stand against and lean against them when they go out, whether it's out into the boarding schools or out into the world later on in the year, they have to be strong. And when foundations
So then what is the right age to send a child to a boarding school so that the relationship between the parent and child does not suffer?
I wouldn't want to comment on, and put an age on it, because it'll be different for each family. Each family's needs will be different. Some families will just need to send their children to boarding school by age 6, for example.
Why is that?
It might be circumstances. It could be work related. It could be personal circumstances, complex. Families have got complex needs. And you've got to look at each family as an individual family. Their needs will be different. So whatever those are, I think that...
Whatever can help a child get a safe and secure place to grow
they
up.
need stability, right? Children need stability as they're growing. But I wouldn't want to put that this is the right age or that is the, right age, younger or older. I think it's down to each family and what they think is going to be best for their child given their family circumstances.
So what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. To your original question, will it change the relationship, will boarding school change the relationship between parent and child? Yes, it will, but for the good, I would say, because you're really partnering with the school to help the child become more self-managing, to be able to take conflict resolution beyond just being in a family, but also to people outside of a family, which they can bring back into the family structure. So this self-management, conflict resolution, understanding, I think at the core of this, understanding that people are different, right? And how do we get along with the people that are different from us? So I think in some sense, it's just feeding back into the family structure. But yes, I would say the relationship will change because the school is really trying to foster in the child a more mature, developmentally growing kind of young person. And so, change, yes, but for the positive. And I think the parents will reap the benefits of that. Because they're partnering with the school, that they trust the school enough to build those skills.
So like a parent has asked that, will a child have negative feelings towards me if I send my child to boarding school?
No, I don't.
No, and to me, that's where, again, to what Sonal said, it's really the individual student and the individual family circumstances. Every child is different. We have to acknowledge that. And so you have to know and talk to your child when they're ready to go. And the whole gamut is there.
I think that's a fair point. The idea is not, a child should not feel I am being sent away to boarding school.
Exactly.
If it's better for the child to be in a consistent, stable environment at school, then that's the right choice. Right? So it's I don't, and again, this is where school, the boarding aspect of it will play a big part in making sure that the transition is home from home, that pastoral support, that well-being, that safeguarding, all of it is there so that the child, after school, when the boarding program starts, that is well thought out, it's intentional, and it's for the child's well-being that it's been arranged in. So that child should never feel that, of course,
I've been sent away to a bad place.
Yes, initially there will be that, they miss home and all, but that's for us to facilitate that and make sure that they know that they have got that support system to lean against. But of course, there will be those contact times with the family as often as they are needed in those initial days. And then I'm sure it comes to a point where the school has to push the child to make that phone call home because that environment has become so much a part of the child's, life. Or maybe because the child's having so much fun.
No, absolutely.
And that's how it should be.
But I think a parent can get scared, my child is having too much fun without me.
Yes.
Or my child is detached.
Yes, but we owe it to the children, don't we?
No, absolutely.
It's important for them to have that space.
Absolutely.
Word we come back to it again, is giving children the space. I think children should, the way of families need to look at it is that, they should make sure that they're so well grounded, the children, but they need to be allowed to grow out and branch out as wide as the one.
I think the only question is,
roots are strong.
The only question is what age? So I'll tell you what is my view on it. My view is so we have one daughter. My view is after the age of 12, like after prep school, if she wants to go to a boarding school, I'm open for it because she can now never forget her parents. It is as simple as that, right? And we have done enough.
Yeah.
My wife's view is, no, I love my child. She's not going anywhere. Okay.
Yes.
Like to each family, their own, and these dynamics exist
Yeah.
Right.
within each family. At the same time, I think the crux, like you were saying, is the child has a safe and secure place. If for some reason you're unable to find it in your home, then sending to boarding school even earlier is a great idea. And I also feel that, like in Queen Elizabeth School, you anyways have a day school. You have a 5-day boarding, so the child can come back on the weekend.
Right.
Also, even if it is a full boarding, you do still get 3 months with the child.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that is a lot of time.
And parents are busy people nowadays, everyone sort of, people are ambitious, they have careers, big careers,
Right.
and what, again, I come back to, if that stability, consistency, if it can't be provided regularly at home, rather than it being detriment to the child's development, I think it's important to have them in a boarding school in that safe space.
Absolutely.
And I think we are starting it, well, not I think, we are starting boarding from year 5, so around age 9, 10. And again, it comes down to what works for each individual family.
So year 5 is just after prep school, or the last year
Still within
Grade
the prep
4,
school.
yeah.
Yeah, grade
Yeah, so it's still
Grade
within
4,
the
yeah.
prep.
school.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a couple of years before the transition to the senior school.
Preparation for the transition.
Yes.
Yeah.
So one parent has asked, if my child is not interested in studies, can I send my child to boarding?
Well,
Is that a great reason?
Absolutely, because I mean that's just one aspect of our education, and certainly they're going to be nurtured in understanding academics, and that's the role of all of us as educators to create that curiosity. Well, let's think about something, son or daughter, about what's your area of interest here. There's inherently there's curiosity in young people, and so you just have to find that and create that condition where they are able to articulate it, and it will come.
Maybe this child is the musician.
the structured time in boarding schools, I guess, the boarding aspect of it starts once school day is finished, thereafter co-curricular activities are finished, and then starts your boarding day. So we would definitely have a structured time where children will have a space and time to just stop and pause and just, re-energize themselves. There'll be time to finish their homework, the prep, whatever it is, just some reading. But there'll also be time for them to be able to go outdoors or even stay indoors and play games, be children, go and kick a ball, go and do some bowling, whatever it is that interests
That time,
them.
I think, is just critical.
Yes, and then after that, there'll be supper time. We would expect house parents to get all the children in their houses together, have that collaboration time together, because children in a boarding house become a family. And it's important that the house parent recognizes that, and there's that time for that collaboration at some point during the day where children can offload a little bit of their day if they need to talk. But that space also has to be thought of carefully, and that time allocated to it quite intentionally. And then, it'll be time to call families. There'll be, that time also is built into this time. And this also gives the house parent that opportunity to have those one-to-one conversations with individual children who might need a little bit more TLC, and that's okay.
But tell me a little bit about this house parent that you said.
Yeah.
That's what you said, right?
Yes.
So, I'm not sure if a lot of parents understand this concept of a house parent. What is this concept of a house parent in a boarding school?
Well, I'll ask Craig, who's come straight out of a boarding school, to explain.
This is my 4th boarding school, actually. So, a house parent, boarding parent, residential life advisor, whatever you want to call it, they're acting in the role of a parent who can't, be on site, and they're just making sure that all the practical things are cared for. The students are feeling cared for in all the little tiny ways of getting up, making sure they eat proper breakfast, after school, that they're there.
They don't have anything to do with the academics per se.
Well, we not in the formal role, but nurturing them, helping.
The same thing a parent will do, seeing if everything is going okay.
Homework, whatever it would be. So it's I don't like to create such a distinction, right? Because we're all teachers. We're all in the engagement.
The child is learning from everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And whether you're teaching an explicit subject like maths in a classroom, or you're the boarding parent after school, right? You're teaching them something, you're modeling something. And it goes both ways, even for teachers, right? You're modeling just like what it means to be a caring adult or a caring dorm parent. So.
And what is the right ratio for this? Like one house parent has how many kids?
Yeah, well, it depends. You build a structure of, in a sense, when you have more students, full capacity, you're going to have supervisors, dorm parents, supervisors. You're going to have those, I would say between 12 and 25 in that range.
And do they also live in a block?
Yes, yeah, they live in a block, yeah.
And the house parents also live there?
Yes, they live right there on site, so they're accessible.
So basically, it's like a joint family in some ways.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
that is,
yeah,
and
right.
some of those house parents might also choose. Some of the educational teachers teaching in the classroom might also want to be a house parent.
Yes, exactly.
It's an additional responsibility.
Their timetable will be, structured in a way that they have enough time to also do that. So it sort of depends on the structure the school's going to have. But
it's interesting. So the child gets like the environment of a house with many children.
Yes.
Of a home with many children.
Yes.
And his newfound parent or her newfound parent.
Yeah, and they'll have to build those relationships where the child feels comfortable. Because some of them will need that comforting.
No, all of them will need that comforting.
Yeah.
Right.
I think children need them in different ways.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Some need more independence and some need more care.
Right. Yeah, and one other aspect is recruiting. How do you recruit for boarding parents? And one of the things I've found too is if you're an international boarding school, you want to have representation from all over the world. So that's one of the things we do when we recruit boarding parents, is that they're not just from one cultural group, one homogenous group, right? You want to have boarding parents from all over the world so that you can accommodate and lean into, in a sense, home cultures of our various students that we're going to have from all over the world. So, and that's even comes into languages. So oftentimes you'll have a language instructor, teacher who's also a boarding parent, because there's that home language that's important for the school to nurture and to foster. So,
and then also, home parent, the house parents will also have to be trained to a really high level of safeguarding and nurturing, because that sits at the top.
That's the role.
That's the top of the agenda of any school. Is that safeguarding of pupils, where every child is in a safe environment. So, and that will be particularly so in boarding houses.
I want to go off script and ask you. So, in all these years, what is it about children that you have learned?
Children are unconditional, right? They are. I always feel that they come to you. And here is something that you can truly make your mark on. And when you are a teacher who understands children, who knows how they click, so to speak, you can build that rapport and relationship with them. Children are smart. They know if you care. And once they do know that and you establish that relationship, that is a relationship that goes quite deep. There is that understanding there. And children, that's what they need. Because happy, secure children, when they trust you, they will flourish and they will learn. I always say that I will always choose to work with children. I always prefer, it's unconditional. There's no drama, there's no politics.
Whatever it is there.
Yeah, whatever you get, it's there. And that's how a natural workplace has to be. So for me, it'll always be about the children, and I'll always choose to work with children.
And I love the word you use, which is care.
Yeah.
Care leads to trust.
Yeah.
And that leads to everything else.
Absolutely. So in schools, trust is very, very important. That relationship, whether it's between the child and the educator or the parent and the educator, trust has to be in that triangulation. It has to be everywhere. And based on that is where you establish relationships with families and children.
Absolutely. I do think, a lot of time parents want trust, teachers want trust, but they forget that trust comes from care.
Yes.
That you have to put your heart and soul into it. You have to really care, and children know it.
They do.
Children know it.
Yeah.
That so children might end up, a child might end up listening to you because they fear you.
Yeah.
But that is not trust.
That's not
Trust comes from care, and care takes your heart and soul. But the people ask me why don't I open a school, and I say it's just too hard
Yeah.
to run a school. It
It
takes
is not
your heart
for the
and soul.
faint-hearted. Being heads of schools is not for the faint-hearted. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Living testimony.
Living wisdom.
Yes.
What is prep school?
Prep school is what you would refer to as primary school. So it's the younger years. It's where a school takes children from the age of 2/3 and goes up to 11. Traditionally, standalone prep schools in the UK used to go to age 13.
Okay.
That's changing slightly. They are bringing them down lower, so it's up to age 11.
And why are they changing?
They're changing because there is this whole examination in the UK called the 11 plus examination. And senior schools are now taking children younger. So they're taking them from year 7, which means that those prep schools, which used to go up to 13, there's still some that do, because schools like Eton and Harrow do take children still at 13. So those children do benefit from being in a school that goes up to age 13. But a lot of the other prep schools have started to become part of a bigger school, which is a through school, which goes from age 3 to age 18. So the natural transition point from primary to secondary would be age 11. So the primary is called the prep school, and then the senior, they would then transition to the senior school. So it's the preparation, almost preparatory years. So it's a short for that prep school.
Prep for the big school.
Yeah, I like to think that.
Yeah. What makes it rewarding for you?
I think always seeing them develop into their own their own personhood, their own contribution. Right? There's nothing better than that, as opposed to just controlling them to meet whatever the norms might be, but to give them the tools where they feel like they can invent themselves, reinvent themselves, where they can be confident about how they're going to contribute to the world and their neighborhood, the larger society. So, I mean, nothing to me when I teach a concept and seeing a student take it, personalize it, and take it and apply it in some way that I never would have even thought of. That's my reward as a teacher, seeing them being able to do something with it that I might not have done, but they're doing something unique and creative with it. So,
See, children, the rewards that you spoke about, when you see a child come into your school, when they leave at the end of their period at that school, and they leave a better version of themselves, those are the rewards. They come to us as rough diamonds. We have to polish those edges to make them sparkle. And that's what good schools do. Any good school, that's what they do.
Interesting. And so, if you can share a little bit about the original Queen Elizabeth School and the campus in Gurugram, what excited you about this entire project to take this up and say we're going to build this from scratch?
Good question.
Fair, yeah. So I've obviously, coming from the UK, I know of Queen Elizabeth in Barnet. And, the name itself holds its own weight. And the school has really, I think, grown into establishing itself as quite a force in the academic world there. I know Mr. Enright, the headmaster, well as well. He and I have worked closely together in my previous school and workplace, where he used to be the chair of governors. And I also had the privilege of spending a considerable amount of time at Barnet before I came to Gurugram, and getting to know
Barnet is the original.
the school in London is in the area called Barnet.
Okay.
Right. And so having spent that time at Barnet gave me a real feel for what the school is. It's exceptional. It's exceptional. There is that ambience throughout the school of mutual respect between the pupils and the teachers. There is that high level thinking, questioning, that reasoning that children do, where they're given these opportunities to grow into themselves. When we first started this conversation, before we started it, we talked about space and children having the space and, big spaces to grow into. Well, Queen Elizabeth does that. It gives children the opportunities to really explore things out into the future, things that, they might not have themselves thought was possible. And that comes with giving that the faculty that is there who enable this, but also just the way that the children, the boys there, it's a boys' school, how passionate they are about their own learning, that peer coaching between the older pupils and the younger pupils, that spirit of achievement, of attainment, the pride they take, not only in the school, but everything that they do around it. I mean, it was a hugely humbling time there. And I knew then that I had made the right choice in bringing that legacy here. But in bringing that legacy here, we also come with a huge responsibility in making sure that that translation from Barnet to Gurugram happens seamlessly.
Yeah. And I think along with what Sonal has said, just, adding to that, this concept of the greater good is really a part of the school ethos in the original campus in Barnet. I've been to campus 3 times now, and I know Sonal's spent extended time there. But, a lot of schools teach skills and dispositions and, values, of course, but they kind of stop there. And what was remarkable to me as an educator with a lot of experience was this notion of seeking the greater good. And I haven't run across a lot of schools that actually have that in their discourse about education. So the last pillar of three pillars in our mission statement at Queen Elizabeth, Gurugram, and Barnet is the idea of being responsible. So now you've been trained, you have these skills, dispositions. What are you going to do with that? What's your contribution going to be? So that's when I think of them, what is really distinctive about Queen Elizabeth schools is this notion of responsibility. How you have a responsibility to your neighborhood, to your community, to the larger group. It's not just for your own self, indulgence.
What I find very interesting in the way you are saying it is that, listen, if a child comes to the school, academic grades, confidence, all of that is given.
Yeah.
Like that will happen.
Right.
What will really happen also is that you will have a child who will care about the world.
Yeah, right.
Who will be responsible for themselves and for the world around them.
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
Service
for the
to
world
the
around
community. Service to the community. Yeah, there's a lot of focus on service and giving a little bit of yourself to that. Children need to learn that.
And
in a very indulgent society, it can be all about just taking. But we've got to train children and teach them how to also give. And that's where that sense of responsibility comes.
And the other thing I would say is this notion of free thinking scholarship, which really comes through. You're trying to nurture students into what I call being agents of knowledge there. And that comes through giving them the tools to research, to produce knowledge, which is really what research is. And so, but I like the fact that they put it in terms of free thinking scholarship, right? There's nothing off limits. We're trying to understand our world. It's absolutely dynamic world that their young people are looking at, and we're going to give them the tools and the freedom to take that learning to places that we don't even know where they're going to end up. So again, I remember I had an educator early in my career who he was talking to me about different faculty members, and I liked his use of the phrase, my classes, I'm going to try to take students where they haven't been before, right? And I think as educators, that's what that creates a dynamism, a magic in the classroom learning when you as a faculty or staff member take students to a place that they just haven't been, they haven't thought of, and that's when the light turns on for them, and then who knows where they'll take that in their lives.
Curiosity.
And when is the school opening?
We're going to open classes August 24th. We have faculty, staff arriving August 2nd, so of this year.
This year the school will start.
Yes,
Yes,
absolutely, yes. Yeah, we're finishing up our campus, the phase 1 of our building, and actually tomorrow, Sonal and I are going to be there on campus, and it's going to be amazing facilities. So we look forward to welcoming our students and staff there.
And I think you've been talking to parents now for the last 4 months. So what have you been hearing? What have you learned about parents in India?
Great question.
So I sort of, I'll have to be very honest, I came with the perception that parents in India are very education, examination focused. That seems to what drive them. It seems to also be sort of almost culturally true in some ways in any part of the world, right? I've also been pleasantly surprised that parents are now better informed, but they are more open to actually having a holistic outlook on the development of their children. So it's about having a well-rounded child. So whilst they want the academics as well, they want all the other extras too. They want the sport, they want the creatives, they want their children to have the skills and the opportunities that's going to prepare them for the world beyond the classroom. And this is where I think Queen Elizabeth sits very comfortably in making sure that we're giving them those skills, and we'll be engaging our pupils in those conversations and teaching and learning that's going to take them beyond the classroom. It's that preparation for future jobs, for future employment jobs and skills that don't exist. And so the skills are not soft skills anymore. These are critical skills that children need. And that's what we want to make sure.
So what has pleasantly surprised you is that parents are not only asking about grades.
Yes.
They're asking about everything as well.
Rounded. They want everything. They want
a well-rounded child.
Everything. Yes. And that's what, future employers and the top universities are looking for as well. It's not just academics anymore. And parents are acknowledging that. So we have found that parents want that. And interestingly, some parents have also said to us that they don't want their children just to be pushed for academics. Children have strengths and talents in different areas. All children bring something to the school. So they want that opportunity where we can pick on those talents and those strengths and make them into something as well, giving children those opportunities. Again, whether it's sport, music, art, whatever the child's interested, parents are open to us nurturing that talent and making sure that we take it to another level. And that has been really pleasing and gratifying to hear.
No, I also do see that change as well. So,
Yes.
Yeah, I think one area that I would want to focus on in talking to parents is teachers, the impact of teachers. Parents in this community have made the connection to the power of connection that teachers have over their students' lives and sense of being in the world. And so that's one of the first questions they ask is, who are you hiring? What kind of teacher are you hiring at Queen Elizabeth? And they want to know that because they know that person is going to have high impact on.
That's a good question to ask.
It is a very good question to ask. And I think it's at the heart of, if they had to ask any question, it would be that question. And so we, answer that with, we're hiring teachers that, first of all, care about students, right? Because you can't have great learning experiences if you don't have teachers that care about students, and that goes for everybody in the organization in the school. So you've got teachers have to know how they're going to nurture, love, and care for that student. And if they don't, it doesn't matter what your expertise is. You've got to be able to deliver that care. So that's there too. And it's a very thoughtful question, parents. And I tell parents, we tell parents that this decision of where to send your child to school is the most important decision you'll make as a parent, really, because you're setting them up for being a thriving adult or sometimes not a thriving adult. So what I often quote to them is a longitudinal study by Brandon Boustede at the Gallup organization, who really looked at thriving in young adults. He wasn't interested in just how schools are doing in terms of where children matriculate to a university. Looking well beyond that, he wanted to know, what is it about education that helps a 35-year-old be a thriving 35-year-old? That means professionally, personally, interpersonally, and family relations. And one of the two things there is that the child had somebody that mentored them in school. Just one person, one mentor that believed in them, that mentored them. So I often use that with parents, because this is it. You've got to hire teachers that fit that mold of, they're really a mentor. They're there as a coach and to offer wisdom, to share their life's journey with them, whatever the discipline may be. The other thing the parents are asking too is curriculum, which is really interesting, because some markets, that's not at the top of the list, but I would put this as question number 2. What's the curriculum you're offering? And again, back to what Sonal was saying, they do want, it breaks the mold, the stereotypical mold. You think of, we're just concerned about academic achievement. That is a trope, a discourse out there. But I think actually they're intentional in asking that. And also it reflects the dynamism in the educational field right now, not just in India, but in the region, beyond the whole world. Right, education is changing; it's dynamic.
The world is changing, and education is changing.
Absolutely. So, trying to help them navigate that, I think, is these questions come out of thoughtful sincerity. What's the best curriculum for my child?
What do you think?
Well, I think one that allows them to understand themselves and the world in a deep way is, a general answer. So you have, and every a parent needs to know their child, what's going to suit them and what's going to give them the tools to succeed. For me, I like to situate it in the larger context, which we live in the AI era. Let's be honest. This is just beginning. And so to me, I look at what is the best curriculum that's going to help a student thrive in the era of AI. And to me, it's, again, being an agent of knowledge, being confident about what you know, how you know it, and how you know it to be true. So allowing students to be discerning in their knowledge production, their understanding. They're given so much at the surface level through social media, other forms of media, that giving students those tools to really navigate that, so they're confident about what's true, what's not true, and that's going to serve them well in this, really, who knows how long, this era of AI as it's been defined. So I think we've got to. So for us, we like our namesake, Queen Elizabeth in London and Barnet. We've gone with the Cambridge curriculum. We feel like the robustness, the critical thinking skills that it offers, and also the depth in which a Cambridge curriculum goes to really look at specific subjects in a deeper way, as opposed to more of a surface way. So, but ultimately, you're trying to give students the tools to understand themselves, to, I'd say, reinvent themselves for the time in which they live, because that's going to change in their life.
I think one thing you mentioned is, how does a child know what is true and what is not true? So I do think in this current era, there is no lack of content.
Yes, right.
That is everywhere, you know.
Right.
In earlier times, if you wanted to read something, you walked to the library, took a book, sat. Maybe somebody else had taken the book, so you had to wait a week to get more content.
Yes.
Right.
But knowledge only came when you studied it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Knowledge only still came when you applied your own mind to it.
Right.
That is the only way it stays with you.
Right.
So I think in this era where there is going to be, like, a child doesn't need to go to school to get content.
Yeah,
It needs
right.
to go to,
There already.
there is
Yeah.
no need at all, right?
Right.
But to gain knowledge, yes, like you said, a mentor will be very helpful.
Right, right.
And sometimes, you know, your parents can be good mentors. Sometimes they can't be because you are too emotionally attached. And maybe the school can provide a mentor, which who cares, and hence the child goes on that path. Like the study you mentioned, there was another parallel study which basically looked at schools which looked at kids in slums, and it picked out all the kids who did well in life, who got out of slums and made a life for themselves. And it found that the common bit in all of them was they found one loving adult who was willing to listen to them.
Right.
Right? And that was about it.
Yeah.
And those kids,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
like thrived,
Yes.
like you said.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
We all
Yeah.
have those, that one teacher who ignited that flame, right?
Absolutely.
And that's what it should be. But, as Craig said, in this world of AI, I think what is going to be important, and you mentioned it, is that knowledge is everywhere. They don't need to go to a library. I think what is important is that we teach children how to use this knowledge correctly and effectively and manage these. Children need to be taught how to manage this whole era of AI, because you can also misuse it. But they have to be taught that. And that teaching, that is what needs to happen in schools, is how they can use it effectively to enhance their learning, just as well as the teachers will be using it to enhance their teaching. It's not going to replace the person standing in front, and it shouldn't replace that person standing in front of the classroom. That's your human connection, and children need that connection.
Because you mentioned human connection, what do you think about the use of technology in schools, in homes?
Yeah, we get asked that as well, and I think it's about finding the balance. I think both of us agree that we are old school in some ways. We want those traditional ways of teaching reading and writing to still be there. But we have all this technology available as well. So this is what we need to do, is use it effectively in the classrooms. So we are enhancing that knowledge.
What would
that
you
the
call,
children...
in prep school, for example,
Yes.
what would you call an effective use of technology?
So what I would call it effective use of technology is where the teacher delivers a lesson, and then we can use technology. We're learning about the pyramids in Egypt. We have the technology now, like VR, to use to get a real feel of what do those pyramids look like, go on a journey to that. All this is being done within a classroom setting. How fabulous is that? You're getting that real life experience of what those pyramids might look like. That's making it real. And children nowadays learn best of things that they live those things. Real life teaching is what children want now. It's not just about what has been happening for years. And, this is why curriculum reviews happening more consistently, whereas in the past, I don't believe they happen as consistently and regularly as they should have. Now they are, because it's evolving, and teaching and learning is evolving alongside. But this is where I think almost indirectly children have also informed their own learning patterns, because they want things that they can relate to. And when children can relate to what is being taught, that engagement is much deeper. So, and this is where we've intentionally chosen the curriculum we've chosen, because it's not just about going through the contents of a curriculum. We want to be able to dive deeper, but what I like is you also linger longer in topics, so that they are really getting that knowledge that they need. It's not teaching to examinations anymore.
I like this bit, which is you have a teacher who cares, and the subject being taught in a manner that it is being made more real for the child, so that the child can relate.
Yes.
So hopefully, there's a teacher who cares, and if the child can relate to the topic because it is being taught in a more real world manner, and because, like you said, more time is being spent on it. hopefully
Yeah.
the child can learn.
Absolutely. What is the rush? Education can't be rushed. It needs to be experienced as well. And experience comes with time. So we've got to give it that time.
And that very well may be the way to some humane approaches to education back to the AI era, right? Because we were just at a conference, and this is the large question: whether schools in the era of AI, what's the point of school if knowledge is already there? And so I think the experiential piece might be there because from some social theory, I use this notion of outsourcing knowledge. That's what we've done with AI. We've outsourced knowledge, right? It's there. It can know and it can write for us. So the fear is like, well, how will we get to any knowledge because we've just outsourced it? What if we don't have AI at one point? And then like we've lost the ability to be human, which is the ability to think, to critically reason. So, when I've taught a lot of social science research methods, and I would tell students, you create knowledge in the writing. You may have done your research and gotten your data over here, but it's actually in the writing process when you try to make sense of that, which is really the work of synthesis, critical thinking. That's when you produce something that you can know. And sure, it can be contested. Someone else would come along, do another study, and they might have a conversation about that. Well, how do you know that's true or not? So in the past, we did have the tools to produce knowledge, yet now we've outsourced it. So maybe back to the experiential learning, that it's in the experiential learning that we become more human. Because ultimately, I was quite encouraged at this conference we went to recently, because basically to me, the pattern I heard in responses from educators all over India was how to be human. This is the main question that schools will need to address in the 21st century. And part of that is because we've outsourced these things. So it'll force schools, I think, and this goes back to, we can't just look to the past, we've got to look to the future. What are those essential human qualities that we want to produce in our students? Empathy, understanding, which comes through experience, right? You can't know how to navigate life without that experiential piece, And probably the thing I say more than anything else is, experience is the great teacher, right? I mean, ultimately, I learned this early on in my higher ed career. It's like I was teaching cross-cultural communication, anthropology, and it's like I was teaching it largely to homogenous first-generation college students. And I thought I could be talking up there all day long about this concept, that concept, but until students actually experience it, rub up against it, come up against it, they're really not going to learn, right? They got to take it to heart.
You can read about swimming all you want.
Yeah,
Finally, you'll have to swim. You can, and forget swimming. That is still a physical thing. You can read all about courage, but what will you do in the moment?
Yes,
Absolutely.
And children having those, experiencing those moments in the right amount in school to make them exercise their mental and physical muscles both.
Right.
But that's where you give them the confidence to have the courage to
attempt.
make those leaps, right? To attempt. Because if you don't give them those skills, because whether it's success or it's failure, it should all be experienced at school. They should, with it comes humility with that failure, but that's also a learning angle. And that also needs to be, but it can be done in a school because it's
a safe setting,
managed setting,
right?
And life's not always going to be plain sailing. So
you can create a place where there is no cost of failure.
Absolutely. This is where children there'll be character forming, there'll be that resilience coming in, there'll be that courage to take and make decisions that are going to be challenging, but will give them that quiet confidence that they can make it with.
Absolutely. So, because you said one of the questions parents ask is about teachers. Will Queen Elizabeth School have a lot of expat teachers? And based on your experience, are expat teachers better than Indian teachers?
Yeah. The way we address that is
it's a loaded question.
It's
a loaded question.
Yeah, it is a very tricky question. Your passport does not determine if you're an effective teacher or not, right? Let's blow that notion out of the water.
Yeah.
We do want to hire teachers that have a certain international perspective and experience, and we just talked about experience that can come through experience, but it can also come from your disposition, who you are. So we have spent a lot of time, probably more time than anything else in these years or these months, preparing for the opening of school than in making sure our selection was right for our teachers. So, on paper, we're looking. We have some constraints. We're looking at about 30% of international teachers, but beyond that, we're really looking for international experience. And the reality is, the Indian teaching pool across the world is so vast and rich that that's not a very difficult task to hire teachers from all over the world with that international perspective and experience. So we want, again, I started our conversation with saying that the number one priority is getting teachers and staff that care about students. So you have to start there. And then after that, you want teachers that are able to think beyond just their neighborhood. We want them to think about their neighborhood, but also beyond that. And because that's the world we live in, largely.
Absolutely. And so, do you have any input on this?
I think that, as Craig rightly said, passports do not determine a good teacher. I think subject expertise is important. What is that passion that you need in a classroom, particularly with younger children. It has to be engaging. It has to be relatable to the child. You can't pretend to be a good teacher. You're either a good teacher or you're not, and you either want to be a teacher or you don't. And so it takes time to make sure.
I think step one to be a good teacher is that you want to be a teacher.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. It's a job, a vocation, or a calling for some people, and it's not easy. It's not easy. When the world closed during the pandemic and everything closed down, the doctors and the nurses 100% rose up to the challenges of it. But also the unsung heroes were the teachers who kept education going quietly online. Nobody had trained them to teach like that. It's an unnatural way of teaching and learning. But all over the world, the teachers rose to this. And they made sure that this continued. That doesn't just happen. It happens because there is a passion in you to deliver that knowledge. And that's what makes a good teacher. Not back to where we started.
Not the passport.
Not the passport.
Okay, I take that. I agree with it. So it says on your website that our founding institution, Queen Elizabeth School, Barnet, stands as one of the United Kingdom's most academically distinguished schools. So two questions. When I read this, it comes like, what does academically distinguished mean? And does it mean that academics will also be a big focus in Gurugram?
Yeah, I think, like we said before, we mentioned free-ranging, free-thinking scholarship, right? The conditions are created in the school community for academics, students to excel academically. Why? Because they're given free range to think. They're given the tools to understand, to research, and that free thinking ideas, applications of those ideas is nurtured amongst all the teachers there. So you start there. You have to create conditions where students are free. That curiosity is built within the system. How you as a teacher set it up. And oftentimes, we think about maybe overly prescribed approaches, but that's where I think that can set Queen Elizabeth apart, is that those aren't overprescribed. Like, here, you got to study this. It starts with the students, a very student-centric approach. Like, what do you want to know? What are you curious about? And we always start with, just start with where you're at. Look around you. What makes you curious? What do you want to know more about? And so I think that creates those conditions to make academic excellence. But certainly that's not the only piece of a distinctive Queen Elizabeth education. And maybe we'll talk later about all of our different co-curricular programs. looking to the future. So it's a very comprehensive approach. And academics is just one part of that. But I think when you care about students and nurture that curiosity in them, they're naturally going to come out as high achieving academics, if you will.
And what does, like, the first part of this? So I get that you're saying academics will be a focus. It is not the only focus. The overall focus is holistic development. At the same time, you believe if you nurture the student's curiosity, academics will be a natural outcome of the process.
Yeah.
Right? Now, when it says Queen Elizabeth School is one of United Kingdom's most academically distinguished schools, what does it mean?
So academically distinguished is that, you started this conversation by giving some statistics about where the children from Barnet.
That 55% of schools, of 55% of graduating class goes to top 5 universities in the world.
That does make you a distinguished university, where they are year on year, sending 150 to 180 young adults to Oxford, to Cambridge, to other big name schools. But that is, again, the distinguished curriculum, the distinguished academics within the school comes as an all-rounder. So that is what a distinguished education in terms of, I think, Queen Elizabeth at Barnet stands for. It's about getting the talents and the strengths of every single child in that school and making sure that they get them to a level where those children are almost, that is their, identity in a way, whether it's sport or it's music. When I was there, I met this amazing young man, and he was, I was invited to see a music enrichment workshop at lunchtime, which I attended. They had an external assessor who had come to assess this young man. And he had composed a piece of music that he was conducting to an orchestra. And, he was getting live feedback as he was going along. I was totally blown away by the level at which this was done. That personal attention, but just the confidence that this young man had and the talent he had in composing this piece of music. And at the end of it, I went to congratulate him. And he said to me that he was also very happy. He had just been offered a scholarship to Cambridge to read music. That is distinguished education. Where they are, it's not just about going into your core careers. It's not just about medicine or law. Or it's about nurturing the talent that each individual child has. That's what makes it distinguished. That every child is different, but each child has their own strengths and weaknesses.
I think what I really pick from this also is that academic doesn't only mean maths and science.
It's not.
There is so much more to it.
So much.
And in all of them, there are, because Indian parents think in that manner, in all of these, in music, in sports, in so many arts, you can do more degrees and you can continue to achieve excellence.
Right. And I'll never, I think that experience at that lunchtime, just being a witness to that, it's going to stay with me for a long time. But that's what that school stands for. That's what that school stands for, and that's why it's so unique, isn't it? We saw it everywhere. That I said to you earlier, in that mutual respect that colleagues have for one another, that teachers have with children, that the students have for each other amongst themselves. We went into various lunchtime clubs that the older boys were running for the younger boys. That respect, the role models that these older children were being to the younger ones.
And the beautiful part is once you set this culture, then it rolls.
Yes.
Hard to set.
It is.
But once you set it,
it
rolls.
Right.
It really rolls.
Yes, and this is where I think that, Craig and I find ourselves feeling so privileged, is that in a founding school, you're going to have to create that culture. You're not, inheriting a culture from an established school. We are going to have to create it. And that is, I think, such
work of a lifetime.
Time. It is such a special opportunity.
Absolutely.
I think too, if I can comment on that, underneath that is peer learning, right? I often say that peer learning is really one of the most underestimated aspects of learning in education. And again, when you've taken the time to create a culture where you're learning from your peers, and again, someone mentioned even cross ages, that this creates an amazing dynamic. When it's explicit and when the students know that this is a part of their learning, never underestimate the power of that peer learning. We all have been in chairs as students when we didn't know the answer, and yet, for me, I remember biology in high school. Like, I happened to be paired with a future valedictorian. I was in 10th grade, he was in 12th grade, and he knew biology a lot better than I did. And how much learning he gave me just as a peer, so to speak. And again, those are the conditions that we create. And I think it's not an overprescribed approach. And I think that's where the magic is in Queen Elizabeth education, as we've seen those scenes play in our minds, is that they're not overprescribing. Again, that's that free-flowing, free-thinking scholarship that and saying, hey, kids, let's get it.
All the
and that they want to do it. I mean, they're off to the races running with this the skills that they've been provided, but it's not overprescribed. It's like, here's the conditions, you guys work with it. And again, I think historically, when I look at education, sometimes it's tended to be overly prescribed. Like, okay, do this, it's more.
Many boards are overprescribed. I think traditionally the older boards all overprescribed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What you're saying is something that I believe in, which is that set the right environment, allow the child to pursue their curiosity, and then watch them grow.
And nurture peer learning, or what I call the corridor curriculum. We've talked about the hidden curriculum, but I like to talk about the corridor curriculum, which is peer learning. It's what we learn from each other. That's not just academics, it's the social skills. How do you navigate these situations? So
the the invisible architectures in schools. Yes, you can see the buildings and the facilities. All schools strive for that A class, but it's the invisible architecture, the care, the passion, the trust, the collaboration between children, teachers, between each other. That is what you feel that. And that's what schools should be about, feeling, not just about visuals.
So now you've spoken about the school, right? But life outside school also plays a big role.
Very big role.
In a child's life, in making the individual. So, like, the home environment matters. How do you intend to work with parents on that?
I've always believed parents are children's first educators. Right? And when they come to school, we join them on that journey. We become their partners. I've always stressed that relationship between school and home. And I feel that if school and home are on the same page, translating the same message for the child is only going to thrive in that consistency. I've always felt that particularly as head of prep, I work with parents for whom this is going to be the first step in education. When they bring them to us, when they're quite young, you have to do a lot of hand-holding, not of the child, but of the parent. You have to go on this journey with them. It's a huge emotional roller coaster for some of them. You have to reassure them, and that comes back to building that trust, about building that relationship. With older children, if you're dropping them off to school, you drop them off to school and they'll walk into school. Teenagers don't want parents to walk them into school anyway. But with the younger children, you have to make and build those relationships with parents and with family.
The child is secure enough to leave the family and say, oh, I want to go to school.
Yes, but
I love my teacher.
Yes, but that comes from having built a relationship and a connection with home. So for the three to work together in harmony is extremely important. But I always also say to parents that, there will be times when we as a school will make decisions that they might not agree with.
Tell me one such decision.
So, in my experience, in schools that I have taught, children have been put into ability sets, for example, for maths and English. Ability sets, so that you teach them, everyone's learning the
ability sets means they are grouped by their skill level.
Yeah, so all learning the same curriculum, but the pace at which they go is slightly different. The ones who need that faster pace are in a higher group. The other ones are in lower, and that is a huge point of contention with parents.
Parents don't like that. Why is my child in group B
that's right.
group A?
So it's their prerogative. But if you are confident in the data that you have, that you're using that data correctly, confident in that, more importantly, it's for the well-being of the child to be where the child is. And when that school makes that decision, then parents and school will have to agree to disagree, because the decision is being made in the benefit of the interest of the child. It should always be child-centered. It should always be child-centered in where the child, and that has happened many, many times. And ultimately, both parents and the school can see. And sometimes the school will also get it wrong. It's not to say that, as educators, we are always right. We're not. We are also learning all the time. Teachers cannot be teachers if they're not learners first.
Absolutely.
Right? So they have to be. So we are learning all the time as well. But a school should be brave enough to say, we got that wrong, actually. This is what we'll find the solution to. And I think at Queen Elizabeth's, we are going to be very transparent and open about things like that. Is that we will always endeavor to make sure that we get it right for every child. And when there is that moment that we don't, we will accept it, but we will do everything we can to make it right. We'll find the ways to make it right. That's our responsibility. But working with parents is going to be, there has to be that harmony and that relationship and that trust. They're leaving their children to us. We can't break that. But also on the flip side, the parents have got to trust us. We are the educators. That's why they're bringing them to us. So they need to let us do what we're doing. We will be joining them. We're not taking over that parenting. We're just joining them as their partners.
On the journey.
Yeah.
And the school has all options, right? It has a boarding option, it has a day option.
Yes.
And in terms of boarding, we have a full residential boarding program, and then we have a weekly boarding program where children go home on the weekends, Friday night to Sunday night. And then we have extended day boarding as well, up to 8:30 at night. So, and I think that's one of the things that we're trying to be distinctive in is the offerings, particularly for our local demographic of parent. A lot of folks are quite busy working, dual working households, and we want to be able to meet the needs. We've thought about this, and we want to provide flexibility, which I think sometimes maybe some of the older boarding institutions don't have that flexibility. They're in the mountains, and so we're closer to the airport. You can fly into Delhi, NCR from anywhere in the world, and within an hour you're at our campus with your child. So I also just wanted to add a little bit about, when you ask about parents, and to me, it's the accessibility issue that we want to make ourselves accessible. And I think that's also a distinctive offering. There's less, in the international boarding school sector, there's less distance between the parent and the educational leadership of the school. You've got to make yourself accessible in this environment. And, sometimes you think parents want to wash their hands of the parenting. They've given that task over to the school, but we're a partner with that. We insist on that partnership, which also means we're accessible and they're accessible as parents. So we have to have that joint conversation with them about their child and, staying in touch. But part of that means that you are making yourself accessible to parents.
And you intend to do that at the school?
Yes, absolutely.
There's going to be an open door policy. Both for the parents, but I think staff and children also need to feel that. Staff need to know that they can approach the leadership. High visibility of the leadership is important in any school. and teachers would need to feel secure that it's, you're not that elusive head who sits in an office behind closed doors. I mean, certainly as head of prep, I don't want that. And in my previous school, come break times and lunch times, I had the receptionist constantly phoning me, are you available? Because children always wanted to come into my office, whether it was to show their work or just come and, browse around in the office. That has to be there. They're so proud to be able to be a part of that. And that's what
you're busy. I think you're busy days ahead.
Yeah.
That's all that I can say.
That's what we want to be. We want to be brilliantly busy, don't we?
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that accessibility is key. I remember I learned early on, Bart Giamatti was the former president at Yale University, Ivy League school, also former baseball commissioner. And he said the number one question that parents should be asking for their undergraduate students of their institutions was access to faculty. You can have a great reputation, but really if your child does not have access to faculty, what's the point in the sense? That was what he was making with that assertion. And I think, I think the funny thing is if you were to ask faculty and staff, and my own experience in Asia, one of the things that's shocking for a lot of folks is that very thing, accessibility. Typically, there's so much power distance between parents and the educational leadership. And so when they come to communities that we've been a part of, they're like absolutely amazed that they'll answer the questions and be out there with the parent community, engaging in very dynamic conversations and not being afraid of that, So again, letting go of some of that control and yet saying, we're here for you, we're here to serve you as a parent, as a child. So that's why we're here.
Yeah.
Just
Sorry, please.
That accessibility also needs to be respectful because teachers, we have to, it's not only about the children's well-being, it's also about the educators' well-being. And, we need to keep that in mind as well as parents, that let's have a little bit of respect for that time while we have that accessibility. During the school day, we absolutely expect our staff to be accessible to parents, but that's not that they're sitting there answering emails throughout the day. They should be teaching the children. But there is that, whatever the policy is, that you get back in touch with the parent within 24 hours. I think parents also have to be mindful of
that if they keep bugging the teacher, how will the teacher do the job?
Yes, but it's also about the teacher's well-being.
Absolutely.
We need to nurture and look after that as well, because a teacher whose mental health is great, she's going to be great in the classroom.
Same goes for the parent. If you want a healthy child, be healthy yourself.
Yes.
Physically, if you want to raise a physically, mentally healthy child, I'm saying be physically and mentally healthy yourself. Same goes for the teacher.
Yeah, it has to be a healthy, accessible relationship.
Well, and that goes back to mutual respect. If we're making ourselves accessible within a framework of mutual respect, right? That's always going to be there. I remember, having very public meetings with parents during the pandemic, and being accessible doesn't mean that you throw away your own principles and just become a customer service people pleaser that's just going to listen. Right? You have to know your own identity as a school community and be able to, draw boundaries where necessary.
100%.
So that's
that's like the school our daughter goes to. Like earlier in India, a teacher walks in, you stand up and say, "Good morning, teacher." Even if you mean it or not, you just stand up and say it.
Yeah, right.
The respect doesn't come from deep within; it comes just only from a set of rules.
Right.
Like in our daughter's current school, they call teachers by the name. Geeta or whatever it is. But there is a sense of respect for the teacher, which comes from the idea that I can learn something from this person and this person cares about me.
Mutual respect.
Same time, they're calling each other by first name. So I find that to be wonderful. Okay. So now, in the brochure on school website, I see a lot of foreign students. Do we expect students from different nationalities, countries to be as part of the Queen Elizabeth School in Gurugram? Is there an exchange program? How?
Yeah, no, absolutely. We use the word local, local and global combined. So we certainly want to pay attention to our local parents and their needs for their children's education. But we are an international boarding school, right, with an international name brand in a sense. So we're going to have, just like our staff, we're going to have students from all over the world and coming from all quarters. And part of the proximity, again, to the Delhi National Capital Region, the airport, so that parents can easily fly in and fly out to see their children or drop their children off, etc. So it will be all of that, and in its ethos as well, not just surfaces. But again, we have what can kind of fool people in the international boarding school scenario is they can maybe look on the surface of international boarding school and say, oh, that's very localized school. But in fact, we know there's so much mobility in this era for students and families. I just know by experience that, you maybe grew up in the UK or the US, and but yet you look like you're from here, but you're actually quite cosmopolitan because you've lived in 4 different places, and that's the world we live in. So that's the kind of school it's going to be as well, reflecting that international cosmopolitanism.
When I speak to head of a school, or we do this thing, head of school, one of the things when we choose who to speak to, because we get a lot of inbound requests, one of the things that I look for is, what am I going to learn from it? Like, I genuinely believe we have one life to live, and it just passes by. So what am I going to learn from it? And what I learned from this conversation was that running a boarding school or a school where children come and stay, is just about so many small, thoughtful decisions, which all come together to actually produce an individual which parents and the school can be proud of, and the individual themselves can be proud of. From the small examples that you shared, from the home parent we spoke about, to that child who excelled in music, which essentially is academic excellence in some ways. There are schools for music and there are careers in music, right? And to be able to accommodate all of these diverse budding individuals in one space, I think requires a lot of thought.
Yeah, but you see, the culture of a school is not built the day the school is launched and the first day the pupils come in. The culture of the school starts when the thought of building the school first began. In those conversations, the quiet conversations that Craig and I are having with various teams, the things that we are doing, the decisions that we are making, all that comes, and that's how the culture is already forming. And that's what happens when you then go into the school. It's those, as you rightly said, those intentional decisions which are being made, the things that are being thought of. What if we do it like this? How is it going to impact the child? It should always be about the child. What time do they need to have their supper? Because that's the time. Are they going to have playtime after or before? Do they need downtime now or then? Do we do maths in the morning or in the afternoon?
No, absolutely.
All of it.
There are so many.
There are so many things. And I don't think that sometimes people understand how complex schools are and can be. And as I said before, it's not for the faint-hearted. You have to have that quiet resilience. You also have to have a lot of courage to make decisions for the children who are other people's children.
Absolutely.
And make sure that you get that right. And those are the things that can give heads, particularly sleepless nights. But in all of it, if it's done in the best interest of the child and you're confident in the decision you're making, then I think it's fine. It'll be okay.
Absolutely. I'm very happy that Queen Elizabeth School has come to Gurugram, India.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm glad that when you met parents, you felt parents are also ready for it. They are not only asking about grades and exams, and they're asking about overall development of the child.
Yes.
And I'm glad both of you are running it. So congratulations and all the best.
Thanks so
Thank
much.
you.
So happy to be here with
Yeah,
you.
thank you
Thank
for
you.
giving us the opportunity.
Cool.
Yeah.